Welcome along to Super Sunday Matchday. Breaking news in the last half an hour. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been sacked as manager of Manchester United. Michael Carrick will take charge of United following Solskjaer's departure, with the club looking for an interim appointment until the end of the season. So look, after weeks of speculation, Manchester United have sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this morning following that 4-1 defeat to Watford. At 10:30, United released a statement announcing the decision. This is what they said. Ole will always be a legend at Manchester United, and it is with regret that we have reached this difficult decision. While the past few weeks have been disappointing, they should not obscure all the work he has done over the past 3 years to rebuild the foundations for long-term success. Ole leaves with our sincerest thanks for his tireless efforts as manager and our very best wishes for the future. His place in the club's history will always be secure, not just for his story as a player, but as a great man and a manager who gave us many great moments. He will forever be welcome back at Old Trafford as part of the Manchester United family. Michael Carrick will now take charge of the team for the forthcoming games, while the club looks to appoint an interim manager to the end of the season. OK, let's get more on this huge breaking story. We can go live to our reporter Ben Ransom, who's been at the United Carrington training ground for us all morning. So, Ben, I guess the question is, what now for Manchester United?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very difficult decision for United because obviously they wanted to deal with this in the right way. I think that statement echoes really the sentiments of United fans, that Solskjaer is still very much part of this family. I saw a tweet from Gary Neville thanking Ole for what he did do, and that kind of reconnection. He talks about putting some soul back into this club, and that is exactly what he has done. If you think about Ole's at the wheel ringing around Old Trafford, if you think about all the successes he had as Manchester United manager, and the fact that the fans got on board again with this team after that relationship really had been broken under previous regimes. He's done a lot of good work, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think you have to say he leaves the club in a better position than when he took over. However, his time coming to an end and the run of results on the pitch just simply have not been good enough. 5 defeats in the last 7 in the Premier League. The humbling defeat against Watford, really, after that, when we heard that senior executives had had that meeting to discuss his future, really the writing was on the wall for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Obviously, as far as the United hierarchy are concerned, they've got to look to the future, and I think what is slightly interesting about that situation is that Michael Carrick, who's been part of the inner sanctum of Solskjaer's coaching staff, brought in to try and just improve them tactically, to give them perhaps that extra little bit of nous to turn them into title challengers. He's been given the role of taking charge of the first team until they appoint an interim manager until the end of the season. So it doesn't sound like they're going to go for a permanent manager at this stage. Michael Carrick is going to take charge. The players, we've seen them arriving here at Carrington today. We've seen them on site, having that recovery session, both physically and mentally, you'd have to say, after recent results, and given what we heard from David De Gea in particular after that game against Watford, talking about the embarrassment, talking about something being wrong, something needing to change. Well, that change has now happened, and the opportunity is there for the players to show that they want to move on and move forward and improve under the new system. So, because the games come around straight away. Next up, Villarreal in the Champions League on Tuesday night. It comes up very quickly when you consider today's about recovery, saying goodbyes for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the team getting to know Michael Carrick and what he wants from them. One day he'll have to work with the team on his own, Carrick. Tomorrow he'll have the media duties you would expect as well, the pre-match press conference, and then they'll be off to Spain for that crucial Champions League game. So time of the essence for Michael Carrick to get his ideas across. We understand that Solskjaer was here at the training ground earlier on with Ed Woodward as well. 2 entrances here. We've been positioned at one of them. This is where he normally comes in. He didn't come in this way this morning. We were here pretty early. No sign of him yet. We may well see him leave at some point, but he will be leaving Carrington for the final time as manager, that's for sure. But as we heard from that statement, still very much regarded as part of the Manchester United family.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure your eagle eyes will get him if he does go that way. Thank you ever so much, Ben, for now. Plenty more from Ben throughout the day here on Sky Sports News. As he mentioned, the reaction is coming as you might imagine, all the time to the decision, including from Sky Sports pundit and former teammate Gary Neville. He's tweeted this: "Thank you, Ole. You did us proud. The last 2 months were tough, but before that, you restored some soul into the club." So, Gary Neville tweeting that this morning. Darren, it's not come as a shock to anyone, has it? This is not shocking news that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been sacked. But I guess the problem I think a lot of people are going to have with this is the timing and the projection that it took.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm going to refer to some of the pieces in the papers over the course of the next hour. But, I just want to talk about the characterisation of the media as some sort of pitchfork mob deciding, obeying for Solskjaer's blood. And that's not quite true. I think throughout this whole period, the statistics have told their own story. I saw when Jeff asked the questions yesterday. Jeff Shreves was very fair, but he too recognised the point at which United had reached. And he was making that very clear to Solskjaer. And Solskjaer, to be fair to him, was answering those questions as well. But I think as far as the club are concerned, there is a feeling that you were seeing all of the other clubs around them performing and United putting in the kind of display, I wouldn't even call it performance, the kind of display we saw yesterday. We were talking off air. There were moments during yesterday's game where Watford were attacking and I thought the linesman had put his flag up because the United defenders had literally stopped playing, stopped running. And this was a level of how far they'd fallen. Nothing to do with Watford, everything to do with Manchester United. There is a piece in today's paper by Oliver Holt which still stands true because his criticism is not of Solskjaer, it is of the owners of the club. It's in the Mail on Sunday, and the headline of it is, and these are the Mail's words: "Solskjaer not the root of the problem, it's the incompetent mediocrities who have turned United into a laughingstock." And he says a couple of things. Hey, it's very scathing, I warn you right now. He says, if he were judged on how many noodle partners he has signed, then Manchester United might have a case for putting him in charge of choosing the new manager. But this is about football. He says, "It is astonishing that a club like United was briefing recently that it was willing to let Solskjaer limp on to the end of the season and appoint a successor then. Really? The best supported club in England, a club that used to reign supreme, happy to write off a season barely a quarter of the way through, rather than make a tough choice by getting rid of a nice bloke. That kind of thinking underlined just how far United have fallen. They've allowed a situation to develop where they are already a dozen points adrift of Chelsea. Another season without one of the big trophies United used to chase is effectively sealed." And it's a piece that talks all about the decision-making of the owners, or lack of, the inertia in difficult moments. And I would imagine you could actually factor in this move not to go for a high-profile manager like a Zidane that Ole talks about in his piece, but to go until the end of the season and appoint a manager then, because it does raise the question, if not Zidane, if not a Rodgers, then who?
Can you see why? Can you see any reason in terms of, Gary Neville? I mean, a lot of people have been quite scathing about how he's supposedly backed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer throughout this process, and always, maintained that they were going to give Ole till the end of the season. Perhaps because of what's gone on before in terms of their fingers, they felt they got their fingers burnt when they've made quick decisions. So can you see why they took this long, or can you see why they've done it today? Has there been, was there a straw, do you feel, here that they had to do?
I think they were hoping that because it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a club legend on the pitch, they were hoping that it would turn, merely with the players that they had as well. They obviously got the victory at Tottenham. That kept him in the job again. Every time there was a time where they were struggling and it looked like it was going to happen, he'd pull a result out the bag. And not so much him, which may be unfair, but the players would pull a result out the bag. And unfortunately, they've not done that recently. And 4-1 was the last straw. I think if we look at clubs and the way they're run, you look at Chelsea. I mean, they would have got rid of Ole 5 times in the lot. When you see Manchester United want to win a trophy, they lose to West Ham in the League Cup. Okay, it's the League Cup, but it's still a trophy. It's an opportunity to get to a final and win a trophy. They lose to Aston Villa. They get pummeled by Liverpool and Manchester City. They would have gone and sacked him a lot times over. They have delayed the process, of course. They've made the right decision to get rid of him. In my opinion, though, they're making the wrong decision in hiring an interim manager, because you've now got Michael Carrick to take over for the next 1 or 2 games maybe. Then you're going to hire an interim manager.
But I guess he was an interim but then stayed the job, so potentially could they hire an interim that's going to stay there?
Potentially, and I understand they're waiting for a manager, and the manager they want is probably not available until the end of the season. I understand that, but there are managers out there, Zinedine Zidane for instance, that are available right now that could come in and make a real big change to the football club. I do believe that. You look at what happened with Steven Gerrard and Villa. You look at Patrick Vieira at Palace. When legends come into your football club, it lifts the whole spirit, the whole togetherness of the football club.
So
why not do it now?
Tuchel at Chelsea
Why not do it now?
Picked up the reins after Frank Lampard and steered them to a dramatic upturn in form and to the Champions League as well. So I think as far as making a decision is concerned, bringing in an elite manager straight away, there is an argument for doing just that. And I have to say, I am mystified as to why. And I would imagine, given the timing of this decision, all of the newspapers have got time now to get into this in quite a big way. Obviously, all of the back pages tomorrow will tell the story. There'll be spread features on the work that Solskjaer's done, because as Gary Neville says, you cannot forget what he has done for the football club after taking over from Jose Mourinho. But there will also be a look into just why these guys in the picture, the Glazers, are taking so long to make a footballing decision that could save United's season and actually make them competitive this time around, rather than putting in someone who's going to mind the store.
Yeah.
We saw with Chelsea when they wanted to get an interim and wait for someone, the people they approached said, no, we don't want to be the guys who mind the store. We would like the job full time.
Yeah.
Getting in Tuchel has helped them to do that.
I mean, Vicky, Darren, you've got to have a heart of stone to not feel for Ole in that interview at the end of the game where he was nearly crying. He clearly has a lot of love for the club, has a lot of friends in the media side of things that do back him, like we said. But for Manchester United, there's only a certain amount of sense of joy and bringing smile back on faces. There's only a certain amount of time that can continue until it's now we have to start competing, we have to start winning. Ole's done a good job in bringing the team together apart from the last 7-8 games, but they've won nothing. They need an elite manager to take them back to the level that I remember when I was growing up as Manchester United being number one.
Cristiano Ronaldo walked into this club only months ago. Many will look at this situation and some will start to think, hang on a minute, since he's come in, what's happened? Where do you stand on the debate there?
I don't go along with everyone that says that Ronaldo is the problem, that when Ronaldo plays, it takes away from Manchester United. Listen, Ronaldo has been and still is one of the best players in world football. He's 2 goals shy of 800 career goals. That is an outstanding achievement for any footballer. He's dug Manchester United out of holes this season numerous times. You either build a team around Cristiano Ronaldo, like Portugal do, or you don't play him. People question why he doesn't track back. Well, he's a number 9. You don't have to track back. People question the speed that Manchester United attack when he wasn't playing. They can still attack with that speed, but with Cristiano Ronaldo as the number 9. And if you've got a goal scorer like that in your team, any manager in the world would want that.
Well, it's an interesting one because Oliver Holt, forgive me, he does talk about Ronaldo. My eyebrows went up when I read this piece, but you know, Ole's always required reading for big stories like this. And Ole says, which is quite interesting, Ronaldo would not be in the first team at Liverpool, and he would not be in the first team at Chelsea. He would not even be in the first team at Spurs, particularly now Conte is in charge, because the best teams do not carry passengers, even goal-scoring passengers, because it destroys the effectiveness of the side. And it's a really interesting, thought-provoking piece that he's done. Obviously, I'm returning to it. But Jonathan Liu in The Observer does a similar piece today, and he says that in retrospect, the decision to go all in on Jadon Sancho and more significantly, Ronaldo, rather than strengthening in midfield or at fullback, may go down as one of those crossroad moments in the club's history, the point at which they were on the verge of building a new house, but instead decided to blow it up for the YouTube numbers. And that kind of points to something that a lot of people have been remarking on, not least Ollie, which is that they seem to be enthralled to commercial success rather than footballing success. And so they believe that if the brand is doing well, it doesn't really matter if the team isn't fulfilling its potential. Obviously that will be cause for debate, and I'm sure the guys will debate that a bit later on. But I think as far as the team is concerned, what we're all seeing, what we're all used to, we are not seeing that from Manchester United.
Yeah, well, we certainly didn't see it yesterday, did we? And that has resulted with what we've got today. OK, so stay with us on Super Sunday Match Day. Huge breaking news, of course, this morning for you. Manchester United have sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer after that humiliating defeat to Watford yesterday, leaving them 12 points behind the Premier League leaders Chelsea. We'll have much more reaction to this news for you in the next hour or so.